And take notes on how to do a proof or a 2-column proof. You can name it either one. I do not care. Whatever makes the most sense for you. So the first step is we want to make or set up our T-chart, our 2-column set. 2-column format. I'm going to do a little example off to the side. So we need the statements and the reasons. Okay. And the next step is to take your givens and place it as the first statement. So writing down any givens as the first statements and giving the reason as given. My third suggestion would be look for clues in the given slash mark on any figure that was given to you. And then 4, we want to create a logical sequence of steps to get to the prove statement. Now you'll need a reason for why you have proven it. It can't just be prove as the last one. So let's take a look at the following given. Let's say that angle 4 and angle 5 are supplementary. Your second given is that angle 5 and angle 6 are supplementary. So I'm going to draw. We have 4, 5, 6, and 7. And we want to prove that angle 4 is congruent to angle 6. So that is the setup. So now we're going to make our 2-column template. Alright, so our first statement, I'm going to just copy down my first given. I'm going to abbreviate. So the reason, so I'm tying my reason to my statement, is that it was given. The second one that we have is that angle 5 and angle 6 are supplementary. Which, if those weren't given, I could have looked at this and seen that they make linear pairs and concluded that linear pairs are givens. But we weren't given that. We were already given that as a starting place. So now we want to take this and we're going to look for our clues. So we're looking for clues. And the first clue I see is I kind of look for vocab words. Vocab words make for good clues. So if I'm looking at some of these vocab words, I see supplementary. Supplementary is a good clue word. So now I'm going to look through my list for supplementary. And I see down here, definition of supplementary is that two angles add to be 180 degrees. So now I'm going to take that information and I'm going to say that the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 5 equals 180 degrees. And the reason why I can say that is the definition of supplementary. So when you're making a proof, you are assuming that people don't know these definitions. And you have to say, oh, I know that it's supplementary, but you don't know what that means. So I need to tell you that if I add these two together, I get 180 degrees. Now on that same note, we have angle 5 and 6 are supplementary. So I'm going to make that step 4. So measure of angle 5 plus the measure of angle 6 equals 180 degrees. And that's going to be the same reason, the definition of supplementary. Okay, so now I have the measure of angle 4 and the measure of angle 5 gives me 180, but also the measure of angle 5 and the measure of angle 6 gives me 180. Now, when I see that two things are equal to the same thing, I'm going to either substitute in this for that, or I could use, let's use substitution. Let's call it substitution. So I'm going to replace this 180 with this here. So I'm substituting it in. So I have the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 5. And because it was equal to 180 here and here, I'm going to substitute in for 180 what 180 is also equal to, which is this measure of angle 5 plus the measure of angle 6. All right. And so these here are equal because of substitution. Now, sometimes it's kind of helpful if maybe you color code things. So I have 5 here, 5 here, 5 here, 5 here, 5 here, 5 here, and I'm looking for patterns. And so that could be something that you use a highlighter for or something like that, is looking for patterns. All right, so I see that I have measure of angle 5 on both sides of my equation. When I have something the same on both sides of my equation, I'm going to subtract it so that it disappears. And the reason why we can subtract the same thing from both sides is because of the subtraction property of equality. If I subtract 2 from both sides here, I get 8 equals 8. So I'm going to use the subtraction property of equality. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and subtract the measure of angle 4, and I get the measure of angle 5, and I'm going to get the measure of angle 4 is equal to the measure of angle 6. Well, I'm trying to prove that these are congruent. So I have two measures are equal, so that tells me that both are congruent, and that is because of the, let's see if we can find it. Let's see. Definition of congruent angles right here, angles that have the same measure. So I'm going to say if they have the same measure, the measure of angle 4 equals the measure of angle 6, then I can say the measure of angle 4 is congruent to the angle 6, and that is because of definition of congruence, or definition of congruent angles. And that is a lovely proof that takes you from the start to the end. All right. So you have these notes for you to review if you need that, and then also the practice problems from the homework page, the Check for Understanding page, and the Google Sheets.